Welcome back to the I Live My Life podcast, and I'm living mines. I got my radars up. Remember that, son? Your throwback, son. Y'all remember this? I'm feeling like this intro right now.
My spidey senses is tingling. Feel something, got my radars up.
Got that little chill down my spine. Something going on.
Something going on.
Going on.
Feel funny, can't tell me nothing different.
My nose twitching.
Intuition setting in like Steve Vision. I still close my eyes.
I still see. All right. We can no copyright, no copyright. We do not own nothing to that. We don't own the legal terms to that. Anyways, let's get into it. This is the I Live My Life podcast, or a segment from it. This is just content that the network is about to bring. This is just flyness that's about to happen. This is a little small interview. So go ahead. You wanted to know basically where I was brought up and how I was brought up. I'm going to tell you right now. East 9th Street, Cartelia Road, Coney Island Avenue, Avenue C. Avenue, I don't know what you want to call it, but Coney Island Avenue and Avenue C, 323 East 9th Street. There's a big ass building there. It's not in the middle of the block, but it's close to the middle of the block. And it's the only building on the block that has 4 floors, and I was living in that building. I lived on the 4th floor. My upbringing wasn't that tough, honestly. Even though there was times where shit got hard. Grew up with a mom, single mom, holding things down in the household. My father left very early, around the age of 5. Why did my father leave? He left because he got into an argument with my mother about some cheating things or something going on, and if it was true, wasn't true, we don't even know. We don't even think it was true. We just think somebody said something and they was drunk, to be dead ass honest with you. And there was a whole problem with people being drunk and not getting their side of the story together. And he came through and he hit my mom's and he fucked up, and that was it. My mom's wasn't having that. You're gone. It's a done deal. So I seen my mom's have to raise me by herself for a while, and that's what she did. She raised me by herself, and my upbringing in the apartment on the 4th floor, 1-bedroom apartment in the 90s was basically me running the fuck around, going crazy and shit, playing GameCube all the time, and little stupid shit like that, honestly, playing Nintendo 64. Well, first came the Atari. I was actually one of the first people to rock an Atari that I knew of from my generation, because all my friends was either on Nintendo 64. I was so broke we didn't even have Nintendo 64. I remember when I asked my mom for Nintendo 64 because we seen that shit in the Toys R Us little magazines that they would bring to the house. Back in the days, they would just bring a whole bunch of magazines from all the stores that was close to you. They'll put them in a bag and they'll throw them in front of your house or whatever. So we grab that up to get the coupons out of there and shit from the grocery store that's next to us. So also what was in there was Toys R Us. So they would show you the Toys R Us shit, and you'd be like, damn, son, I really fucking want this Nintendo 64. And at that time, it was Nintendo 64 and Pokemon Snap probably a couple of years later with the fucking... And I remember asking for Nintendo 64, and the first thing she said was, I don't got Nintendo 64 money. Crying a little bit. She said, I do have one thing though. And she went into thank God that she did this shit. And she went into the closet and she said, I still have my Atari from when I was little. I was like, the fuck is from when I was younger? Atari? What the fuck is Atari? She dusted this bitch off, mad fucking cables coming with it and shit. It's all like a jumble of cables and weird fucking controllers that you have never seen before. Things that you wouldn't even think is a controller. So I'm already like blasted. Oh, that's a fucking controller, a nod, just a switch. It looked like a little switch, like a nod that you change the radio with type of shit. And one button. I'm like, that's a controller. I'm fucking hyped. I don't know why, but I'm hyped. She put that shit on. The worst graphics I've ever seen. But me being a kid at the time, I was just happy with whatever the fuck I had, to be honest. I was like, yo, this is something though. This is something. Let's do this. Let's get into this. Let's play that shit. I would rush home to play this fucking Atari. Until niggas moved up. And finally, a cousin gave me Sega Genesis games, and I started getting my own Sega Genesis, and then I had a Sega Genesis, and then Nintendo 64. So it was basically just playing video games in the house. I had multiple friends on the block that I hanged out with. I'm not going to get into their names yet in detail and shit like that. But I go outside and play with friends. And it was like I grew up going outside, playing with friends, and playing video games. Right? I would say while that was happening, if you want to know who my musical influences were at that time, while that was happening, it would have to be literally only thing that I knew as music. We're talking about my first 8 years of life, because that's what I'm explaining to you. I'm explaining to you right now. It's probably my first 8 years of life, from one to 8. From what I remember, it's from 5 to 8 type of shit. I'm telling you. So from 5 to 8, my musical influences will have to literally be. It's gonna sound weird, but it is what it is. It's Biggie Smalls, Busta Rhymes, Mary J. Blige, and Diddy, because at that time, I was born in 1992 in New York City. And at that time, when I'm thinking, now you say 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97. We say 97, 98, 99, 99, 2000 type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the only thing that is out. All the way to the 2000s. This is the only thing that is out. Is really like Biggie is very heavy on the radio because he died. My mom is telling me that. That's why they're playing him all the time. Oh, Biggie died. That's why they're playing him. I remember that. That was the thing. That's all. She didn't. My mom wasn't heavily influenced into hip hop culture and diverse into it or understood it very much. So it was like buying the magazines and shit. So she didn't really know much. She just said Biggie died. This is something that was talked about on the radio. I don't know what they want from me. It's like the more money we come. Playing heavy on the radio. That's one of the first things I can remember. I can remember KTU. Is another thing that's very heavy. That's playing on the radio, musical influence for me, which is freestyle music. Can you feel the beat within my heart? Can you feel the love? All of that shit. They playing all of that shit on the radio. Dream Girl. They playing Dream Girl. They playing all of that shit. They playing all of that. That's played on the radio crazy when I'm young. Also, if I have to sit there and say anything that was big that was out, what was big that was out? That was like a hit. Ricky Martin was big for some reason. If y'all bring him back, we saying 96. Musical influence. I heard Ricky Martin. Push and pull me out. The Thong song came out a little bit later than that, if I'm not fucking mistaken. You get what I'm saying? These are just things that I remember hearing that was big as shit. That was just constantly played. Backstreet Boys is something that was shoved down my fucking throat ever since I was the Pussycat Dolls. Things like that. If you were a 90s kid, this is shit that was just shoved down your throat regardless, eh? Okay. So those were my musical influences at the time. Nintendo 64 is something that I can't buy. My mom gives me an Atari. We're wrapping this up, right? So now I just got an Atari. Cool, we good beans with that. Got you. After that, I started to realize. Oh no! Then she gave me a Sega Genesis, right? Then she gave me a Sega Genesis. I said, my cousin gave me a Sega. My cousin gave me a Sega and shit. She got me a Sega also. Started getting mad games for it. Gave him the Sega back type of shit. Started my own Sega. Then the next thing that comes out is Nintendo GameCube. I got the money for it for my birthday. Bought me a Nintendo GameCube. Now we really outside too. I also got a Nintendo GameCube and a bike. And it was a grown people bike. It was a bike like a 6-speed bike, one of them shits type of shits. It was a Rhino bike, all red, and it was the one of the bikes of the summer that everybody, all the fly niggas had. Real talk. I'm talking about grown men had this shit. The only reason I got this shit, because like I said, we was broke at that time. The only reason I got that shit is because my aunt was working for Catholic Charities or something like that, and they gave it as a charity thing, and she was like, I'm taking that one right there to my, she had like first dibs, you know what I mean? And I was at that age where I couldn't ride the bike, and to be honest with you, even when I got it right then and there, so they gave it to me for Christmas, and I had to wait all the way to next year to ride it, because I still wasn't big enough. And then it was like next year I could ride it. And when I first got on it, I was like still mad little and it was dangerous. And I had to kind of like wait a little bit to grow a little bit, that summer type of shit. Like grow into the bike throughout the whole summer shit. Like now that I'm thinking about it, you ain't even know this shit. Like you grow. The only reason you riding this bike better is because you growing, nigga. Like you don't even know why you riding this bike better. And then I'm sitting here, yo, some type of shit like that. Had this little bike, I was riding that motherfucker. That was a crazy, thank you, Titi, for that. That was a great experience, that bike. So we used to have crazy shit happening on my block. I used to live on a block that was like, all right. So, never was the type of nigga that was into gang shit, really, to be honest with you. Never was into street shit, but we was outside. We can't say we wasn't outside. That's one thing I can say about all my homies. We was outside. We wasn't into gang shit and street shit, but we was outside. Now, did we have a little posse of people that we chilled with? Yeah. We had a little posse of people that we kept very close and shit. That's a straight up fact. That's how a lot of the shit that I grew up with, being young, on the block. I lived on a block that probably had like fucking, a lady next to me had 4 kids that was all boys. My friend had 3 sisters. He has 2 sisters or some shit like that, and him and another friend that I knew downstairs, and another friend that I know that was right downstairs, and then there was a bunch of Mexican kids down the block that we was chilling with, that we tight with, and Indian kids are there that we know, and we got some Dominican homies over here, and some, you know, it was just like we was all partying, having a great fucking time on our block. Racism was never a thing. We said racist jokes, had fun with it, but it was never a fucking thing. That was one thing I remember growing up. On my block, I'll tell you when racism was a thing, Racism was a thing once around September 11th and after that with Indian people and stuff like that, people being treated. But that's a different story, and I would love to get into that later because there was a big lesson that we all had to learn, and I really wanted to talk about that. But that's like an in-depth story, right? That's another time. So it was just a very good block, straight up. What we saying? The diversity was cool and shit. All right, but when we first moved to the block, it was dangerous. So when I was a little kid, it was dangerous and there was hood shit happening, right? Now when I started getting to the age of 8, 9 years old, I could go outside and it started getting nicer. I'm getting to that age where your mom's like, nigga, send him outside. Like, go outside for a little bit. Also, it's getting nicer out there. So that was cool as shit, that it was getting nicer outside in the neighborhood, and in particular, the new people was moving in and stuff. I don't even know of what color, to be honest with you, at that time. Maybe Indian people, if I had to really think about it. So things start changing or whatever. We chilling, everybody's good or whatever. Not just Indian people. Like, let me not just say Indian people. People of foreign descent. I'm not want to say the wrong thing because I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But there was from all different types of. There was all different types of religions and backgrounds that they came from. It was lit. It was lit. Like I was learning shit that I never knew about. Especially even we talking about before September 11th, and then afterwards, shit got weird for a little bit, and we made sure we had made everything back to normal though, very quick. Like we ain't playing that shit over here. But it was all different types of people, and it was also let me see who else. I think I could say maybe like some white people kind of too, to be honest with you, started moving to the block. Deadass.
Power off.
Alright, so it was lit. Growing up, when GameCube happened, we was going out, I had the bikes and everything, and we was going outside and shit. Was having a really good time. And my upbringing was lit because I had a bunch of people on our block that we knew. When we played Manhunt or Tag or some shit, it was a game that was like 15 deep. Like I'm telling y'all right now, it was like either 15 or 10 of us or some shit. It was never just that. It was 6 of us sometimes or some shit like that, but very rarely. I'm telling you, like that was like early in the morning. It would be so weird. Like we'd come out early in the fucking morning. I'm talking about niggas is watching. As soon as them cartoons is done, we coming outside, talking shit to each other about these cartoons. We dueling these Pokemon cards and these Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and then we gonna play some climbing games and shit like that, and lit shit. Then we outside on the bikes late at night, and then we talking shit to each other late at night about all the music that's out and things that's happening or whatever. And I grew up like that all the way until maybe I was about 12 years old. When I was about 12 years old, I remember now from 8 to 12 to 13 and shit like that, 12, 13, now I'm actually listening to music. I had a dude that was living in the house with my mom's or whatever because she needed to pay rent or whatever. He was just staying, rented a room out or whatever. It was cool and shit. He had bounce. He left me some CDs. Them shits was like Tupac, Biggie Smalls. No, excuse me. Tupac and Big Pun. Right? It was just literally Tupac and Big Pun. And I was listening to them motherfuckers every day religiously. And when I say that those things had a big influence in my life, what made me understand, I think that was a big moment in my life. So I'm listening to Tupac and Biggie Smalls. But let's go a little bit further than that to give you even a better thing about it. What really started me into music and liking hip-hop music in general, if I have to really be honest, what made me like hip-hop music is some real sad shit. The Rock had put out a hip-hop album. We heard the hip-hop album with The Rock, right? This guy bring a CD over. My mom asked him, can you make a tape? As a matter of fact, that's how old it was. Can you make a tape of that hip-hop album of The Rock? He said, I got you, I'll make it. In the beginning of the hip-hop album that he made of The Rock for me, was Nelly's Country Grandma for no fucking reason. I fell in motherfucking love, right? So this is how weird life is. I heard this was shit weird. I understand where my influences come from. I heard that shit, the Country Grandma. Then I heard the Rock's little bullshit ass hip hop album or whatever. Not trying to disrespect The Rock, but you know what I mean. It's not the greatest thing ever, but it's not shitty either. So listen to that or whatever. I'm like, all right, cool. A couple of months later, a year later, whatever it is, CDs come out now. My mom gives me a CD player, and she brings home. She gets a big ass CD player, I remember, and she brings home. She says, "This one's for you." I don't know why the fuck she would give me this and tell me this one's for you. The Marshall Matters LP. We put that motherfucker in, and it's great. We're cleaning the house to it. It's like the greatest songs you have ever heard of your shit. So you hear Marshall Matters shit. I'm just Marshall Matters. It's a regular guy. Yo, amazing shit, son. Right? So, got to hear that. So now it's like, if you think about it, I just heard a bunch of, I'm not trying to be funny, but we just heard commercial-ish rap. We didn't really hear that much, like, so I heard that rap, and then I heard what rap music that they playing on the radio. So it was never like I got to hear mixtapes and shit like that yet, right? So I fucking walking home one day. This is after the Marshall Mathers shit. Maybe a couple of months later, a year, I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here a lot. And I fucking find a CD player, right? And in the CD player is the Hot 97, the best of Hot 97 this week, whatever, this month, how they used to do volume, probably like, son, to be honest with you, 8 type of shit. Beginning 12 maybe type of shit. It has grinding on there from the clips. It has Pharrell and another Pharrell in the clip song. It's a new day, and then he wants some money. And I don't like to say, I'll say it for this. I don't like to say goddamn. That's against my shit. I don't like to say that. Right? So I used to say a hot damn, and so that was a fire thing. That was on there with 50 Cent's 50 Cent was just coming out, so there was some 50 Cent stuff on there. And that was it. That was I played that motherfucking CD player. I was so happy that I had a CD player. I ain't had the money for it. Nobody had no money to give me a CD player at that time. I found the CD player. I fucking put stickers on it and shit like that. This way nobody knew on the block it was there, so whatever. Never really went outside on the block with it and made sure I just went to school with it in the morning. And I played that bitch every motherfucking morning on the way to school. To the point that the CDs got whacked. And then I had to ask my cousin. I got whacked and I played it too much. I had to ask my cousin for new CDs and shit. And then they didn't really give me new CDs after that. I remember the next thing that I got after that, to be honest with you. I remember that I asked him for a tape recorder that he had that had a tennis match equipped to it also. You could play like a video game tennis. So that shit was mad fly. It was some old shit. I said, let me get that. And he also gave me, again, another Marshall Mathers. This is when this nigga's name was Marshall Mathers. He gave me a Marshall Mathers, Slim Shady type of, this is what his name was, Slim Shady Marshall Mathers. He gave me that type of, another one of those CDs. And this one had the skits on it and all of the funny shit. So, and it also had a couple of the songs that I had heard, but it didn't have them all. It had also new songs. I was bumping that motherfucker relentlessly until that thing broke. You know, you young, you throwing it around and shit until that shit broke. Those were the heaviest influences that I had being young, listening to hip-hop music. Then I had a babysitter, and she had cable TV. And my babysitter was allowing me to watch cable TV, and we was watching 106 in Park relentlessly. Every day I got to watch 106 in Park. When I got a babysitter after, that was another thing too. Once I got the babysitter, now this is what I'm talking about. This is like, again, around the same time while I'm listening to this 50 Cent mixtape thing. I mean, this Hot 97 mixtape thing that got 50 and the clips and Pharrell and all of these people. And then also I'm getting a babysitter now, and I'm watching all of the 106 in Park and every day and shit. And one of the first times I was watching 106 in Park that I could recall, like, Chingy was like the fucking #1 video. And then that was done very quickly, like, type of shit. I'm just telling y'all niggas what I recall, type of shit, like how far it goes back. And that was it. And then I started watching 106 in Park. Well, huh? Which is weird too, because it wasn't that babysitter. I also remember watching 106 in Park and seeing Country Grandma as #1. So this is what I'm trying to say. I don't remember what times these was. I'm not going to sit here and I know that my story, the timings is off. I'm just telling you the story on how I recall it a little bit. Right? So, and then 50 comes out. I remember, and 50 was big as shit. Right? So let's talk about the G Unit influence. G Unit t-shirts in school and shit like that. That was crazy. Seeing people with G Unit t-shirts. Again, I'm poor. I don't got no money like that to be having no G Unit t-shirts. Had to wait till the G Unit t-shirts was a little bit less money. Like I'm talking about like 6 months later type of shit. G Unit did t-shirts with Shady. Shady did t-shirts. They also kind of had to deal with Mark Echo. I was into Mark Echo gear. I don't know if y'all recall that or remember that. Then they started doing their own shit. If I'm tripping on that. Or the Shady t-shirts were almost the same quality as the Mark Echo t-shirts. Something very similar to that. I was fucking with them. Because the Mark Echo t-shirts were long-lasting and durable. My cousin was highly into them. He was giving me some of them. I'm into them now too. Again, at that time, I ain't got that much money. Niggas ain't got money. Niggas just wearing whatever, and just making it work. I think, basically, after that, watched 106 in Park and lost my mind, I guess. Freestyle Fridays, 106 in Park, all of that shit just made me lose my mind. I remember the next steps after that. I'm not even going to get into detail because, as a matter of fact, that's some shit y'all could tune into next time and hear about. The next steps after that, I'll do them very, very briefly. The next steps after listening to 106 in Park for the first time and hearing that months after months after months, and maybe a year after year, and watching that shit was like, that was it to me. I moved to Jersey after that. When I moved to Jersey, I would rap constantly to myself in the shower. When I finished living in Jersey and I came back to Brooklyn, New York, I said, you know what, I'm finally going to write rap music. And I wrote rap music ever since then. And that's really a real pedigree of how I understood how to write rap music and what it took to write rap music. Then the big story starts, I guess, chapter 2 of my life. And what I didn't notice after that was, while writing this rap music, I was also trying to figure out how to sell myself as a hip-hop character, because I was a young man who thought he was tough, straight up. I was a young man who thought he was tough. I thought I was a gangster skateboarder, right? And I wanted to sell a gangster skateboarder. Then I realized very quickly, being in the hood, that I'm not as gangster as I thought. So maybe I should really just rap about things that are really relevant to my life and shit. And that was always the plan for me too. When I really started to realize what it is that I should be rapping about and what I should be doing. And I knew that also I was very influenced in conscious hip-hop. I wanted to say something that made sense, that made people think about something. So I said, let's do that also. But you gotta understand sometimes, you young, how conscious can you be? You want to do hood rat shit with your hood rat friends, so you gonna be doing hood rat shit with your hood rat friends too. So it was like it was a constant battle of that. And I always like to bring to light that one of the first things that I said, making sure this bitch is still on. I like to bring to light that one of the first things that I said, because I like to remind myself, one of the first things that I wrote some shit. There was a whole story with that I want to get into very big, right? But I always discard that because the story is so big behind it. So I go into the second thing that I wrote, and I called that the first thing that I wrote. And that, again, like I said, that's another story. I'm going to have to wait for that. That was a big one for me, and it's deep. So one of the first things that I wrote is Chiba on my breath, no fuck it, Khaled, we the best. I'll eat your flesh. I'm an emo rap terrorist, dressed to impress, funky fresh up in this party. They rock hardly and we rock harder than Ed Hardy's. And I thought that was gold. I thought that was fucking gold. And I would never forget that. You thinking like, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking that Chibo on my breath, no fuck it, Khaled, we the best. And one of the first things I'm telling you is that I'm smoking weed. And then the second thing I'm telling you is, no, listen, Khaled, we the best. And who's we? Because it's just me by my motherfucking self in the house telling you that I'm about to write some raps. So I knew from right then and there that I wanted to go in the wrong direction with some of the rap shit, right, that I was doing. I didn't know right then and there, I knew later on. Later on, I started fucking learning that you can't be just dissing everybody and doing whatever the fuck you want to be doing and saying whatever you want to be saying. There's a constructive way that you do this shit. Like, basically, I had to fucking learn lessons, and I always use that shit to show, like, that was the lesson that I had to learn. I had to learn since then that, I can't be saying all of this. We're gonna get into part 2 of this. Part 2 of this is gonna be the continuation of my musical influences, my musical upbringing, my upbringing, as well as, I guess we're saying, some of the things that I held dear to me, that I'm holding dear to me. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this because at the end of the day, I'm getting older, and I'm seeing that there's a lot of YouTubers that make their own content, and they go in the direction that they want to go into, and I fucking love it. And me, I love documentaries, and I love hip-hop. So I said, let's go into the fucking direction that I want to go into. And for everybody who's going to rock with me and roll with me through this, I really appreciate this, that you're listening. I'm going to make sure I chop this up and make it a great fucking story. And I don't run you guys dry of your time, because I know time is of the essence. So I don't want to make these videos too fucking long unless you want them that way. I love everybody. God bless. Have a great day. We'll get into the next episode very soon. Have a good one. This is the I Live My Life podcast / network. And we doing this thing. Let's move it out. Y'all heard?